anybody anywhere in the world whose millions of ancestors who lived 1,000 years ago all come from one place.
Yeah, so if I understand your question correctly, you're asking how can we make predictions if we all have 2 to the power of n ancestors? Right, this is a really good question. The logic of GPS is different from the logic applied in genealogical study. GPS works well where all your ancestors came from the same area. And it does not matter if you have one parent from England or a million parents from England, it's all the same gene pool. They keep swapping genes within the same gene pools, GPS will pick up that signature. The problem starts when our ancestor moved around the world and did it with every population they encountered and picked up ancestries that did not pass on.
But you made the point earlier that people are quite fond of having sex and having sex with people from other places. So isn't migration and movement of genes absolutely universal? And is there nobody in the world for which, according to the definition you just come up with, is there nobody in the world for which this test is appropriate?
There are people in the world where this test is inappropriate.
Where would people in the world for which this test is appropriate? Could you name any region in the world for which this test might be an appropriate test?
Well, it's not going to work for my kids. They have 2 ancestors from here.
It's asking the other way around.
Their mother is completely mud, because her parents are mud, so it's not going to work for my kids.
But who would it work? Is there any region in the world where people live where this test would be appropriate for them because their ancestors haven't migrated over the last 1,000 years?
Yes, anywhere in the world which is not London, New York, Israel, these type of places where people came about from different parts of the world and mixed, we cannot make predictions for these people. But if you have people from regions where they accepted less migration, okay, and remain pretty much similar, and we have samples from this region, more importantly, then we can make good predictions about these people.
But it seems to me that from most of what we know about human genetics, that means nobody in the world. There's no region in the world for which anybody's ancestry comes solely from that region.
Well,
we know that migration spreads ancestry very, very rapidly.
Yes.
Out geographically.
Yes, but remember that just because there was human migration 30,000 years ago, that does not mean our model is incorrect because the signature has been erased since then. If Polynesian moved from Asia to Polynesia, that does not mean they would look like modern-day Asia. The signature was erased over time. So it's sort of, the big migrations sort of reset themselves every couple of thousand years. What we cannot do is go back 1,000 years ago. Are you asking me if most people in the world are mixed beyond the ability of this algorithm, or not most people will be correctly predicted in this algorithm? The answer is I do not know.
I mean, what you've got is a method that you could label human provenance. Okay? You have a method that could say, this genotype, most likely, given the machinery of your algorithm, most likely originates or would exist in this part of the world. Okay? But making a statement that that is where that person's ancestors come from seems to me absurd when we know it's not possible for anybody in the world that their multitude of ancestors actually originated from one location.
Again,
we know that migration, movement, gene flow is ubiquitous in human history, and it's increased more recently.
It cannot possibly be absurd because we are using reference populations that came from this region. If you believe the reference populations...
Not from 1,000 years ago, you're not.
Well, I made an amendment for this 1,000 years ago, and I explained it goes less and less accurate as we move to the past because people moved, like you said, and I gave the example of Bulgarians. But if you have population that remained relatively stationary, yes, we will make good predictions about them. And as to whether the results are absurd or not, I just saw 3 different data sets where we made excellent predictions about each one.
Provenance, not for ancestry. You need to describe
there
what
is
it is.
Global data sets, oceans, and villages.
But their provenance in their modern populations, your provenance in...
I'll tell you what, why don't you send me the population that you think will not pass this test, and we'll see. Also...
No, I'm just saying you're describing it wrongly. It's not ancestry, it's provenance. You can't say anything about ancestry. You can say this is where that genome is most likely to occur, given the
I said this is
limitations
where the
of your
DNA is
methods.
from. This is where the DNA originated.
Originated 1,000 years ago.
Up to.
It's absurd.
So you're right to think so. I would like to forward you to the next text or next paper that is about to be submitted.
We're obviously all interested in the UK, and the thing that I'm